The Mongol Empire, under the leadership of Genghis Khan, swept across Asia in a relentless wave, toppling mighty kingdoms such as the Song Dynasty in China and the Khwarezmian Empire. Their military prowess, unmatched mobility, and ruthless tactics overwhelmed many defenders who relied on massed armies, fortified cities, and strategic ingenuity. Nonetheless, certain regions managed to withstand the Mongol onslaught. Japan, famously protected by the divine Kamikaze winds, and regions in Eastern Europe like Galicia-Volhynia exhibited fierce resistance, proving that even the fiercest forces could be resisted. But what about Europe itself? The continent faced a unique challenge: fragmented feudal states, heavily armored knights, and a very different military culture confronted an enemy whose swiftness and brutality were unlike anything they had faced. While Asian defenders could lean on familiar terrain and tradition, European kingdoms were forced to rethink their military strategies when faced with the Mongol threat. In the early 13th century, the Mongols, now a superpower after conquering vast regions in East and Central Asia, set their sights on Europe. Central to their westward expansion were the principalities of the Rus, a collection of Eastern Slavic states including Kiev, Novgorod, and Vladimir. These territories not only served as a gateway into Europe, but also as a battleground for the coming Mongol storm. In 1222, Genghis Khan dispatched his top generals Subutai and Jebe on a reconnaissance mission into these lands. As they moved through the steppe, they encountered nomadic tribes like the Cumans and Kipchaks, who, alarmed by the Mongols, sought alliances with neighboring Rus princes. In the spring of 1223, Mongol forces led by Subutai and Jebe clashed with a coalition of Rus princes and Cuman warriors along the Kalka River. Despite facing a large combined force, the Mongols' superior tactics and discipline led to a crushing defeat for the coalition, with Rus casualties estimated around 50,000, while Mongol losses were minimal. This battle marked the Mongols' first major incursion into European territory. Following their victory, Subutai withdrew east but left a network of spies to monitor the region. By 1237, with preparations complete, the Mongols returned for a full-scale invasion under Bata Khan's command, leading a force of 12,000 horsemen. Over 3 years, they destroyed major Rus cities, including the great city of Kiev, by 1240, bringing the region under Mongol domination. The Mongol campaign did not stop at the Rus. They dispatched spies and scouts deep into Poland, Hungary, and Austria, gathering intelligence for a grand assault on Central Europe. In 1241, the Mongols launched a multi-pronged invasion. Kaidu and Orda Khan ravaged northern Poland, Shaban invaded northeastern Hungary, Subutai and Batu advanced directly into Hungary, and Guyuk moved through Transylvania. This strategy of dividing forces aimed to confuse the Europeans and prevent them from uniting. Europe was unprepared. At this time, Pope Gregory IX died, and the Catholic Church was in turmoil. King Bala IV of Hungary urgently called on Frederick II, Holy Roman Emperor, for support. However, internal conflicts, including Frederick's disputes with the Pope and civil wars in Germany, thwarted any meaningful united defense. Despite Frederick's pledges to protect the empire west of the Alps, the German princes failed to rally, leaving Hungary vulnerable. The Mongol invasion resulted in catastrophic destruction. Estimates suggest that over 5 to 10 million people died across the Rus, Hungary, and Poland within 2 decades. Cities were decimated, populations plummeted by up to 90% in urban centers like Kiev. Rural villages were razed, and economic life was shattered for generations. In Hungary alone, the defeat at the Battle of Mohi in 1241 was devastating. Nearly half the population was killed or enslaved, and agriculture and infrastructure lay in ruins. Faced with these horrors, King Bala IV of Hungary refused to accept defeat. He realized that Hungary needed a new approach to withstand any future Mongol invasions. His first step was rebuilding and strengthening defenses, focusing on stone castles rather than wooden fortifications, many of which had been easily destroyed by Mongol siege tactics. At the start of the invasion, Hungary had only about 10 stone castles. By the end of Bela's reign, close to 100 strongholds were constructed, particularly in rugged hard-to-reach regions, aimed at slowing down any invaders. Bala also overhauled his military forces. Learning from the shortcomings of light cavalry, he introduced heavily armored knights, modeled on Western Europe's elite warriors. In 1247, he secured the assistance of the Knights of St. John, granting them land in exchange for their military support and participation in building a more formidable cavalry force. Small landowners were also granted conditional noble status if they could serve as heavy cavalry, expanding the army's capabilities. Furthermore, Bala pursued diplomatic and strategic measures. Recognizing the importance of alliances, he encouraged marriage ties with neighboring rulers, such as the Polish dukes, Bavarian princes, and leaders of Galicia-Volhynia. He also sought to integrate the Cumans, previously nomadic Turkic tribes who had fled or sided with the Mongols, back into his realm by granting them land and marriage alliances to serve as a buffer against future incursions. Externally, Bala maintained communication with the Pope and the Holy Roman Empire, hoping to secure support. Pope Innocent IV, who convened the Council of Lyon to discuss the Mongol threat, commissioned missions into Mongol territory, most notably sending Giovanni da Pian del Carpini to Karakorum, the Mongol capital. Carpini's journey provided valuable intelligence on Mongol tactics, organization, and mentality, which he compiled into guides recommending European armies emulate Mongol military discipline, scouting, and unified command. Despite these insights, Europe remained divided. Calls for a unified crusade or concerted military defense against the Mongols met little success, as European powers remained fractured by internal conflicts like the 100 Years' War between France and England. The Mongols launched further campaigns into Europe throughout the late 13th century. In 1285, leaders like Teluga and Noe led invasions into Hungary and neighboring regions. This time, the Mongols encountered harsh conditions. Heavy snow in the Carpathians slowed their movements, and logistical problems caused severe food shortages. Meanwhile, Hungarian forces, learning from past experience, evacuated villages and fortified strongholds, leaving the Mongols without supplies or loot. Hungarian scouts cleverly infiltrated Mongol ranks, disguised in Mongol attire, gathering vital intelligence that helped Hungarian armies time their attacks. The heavily armored knights held firm against the light cavalry tactics of the Mongols. The Mongols' inability to breach stone castles and the failure to sustain supplies forced their retreat. The retreat itself was disastrous, with Mongol forces ambushed by local light cavalry experts like the Seks, using Mongol-style swift raids against them. This defeat marked the end of large-scale Mongol invasions into Central Europe. Subsequent Mongol raids in Poland and the Balkans were smaller, less coordinated, and met with stronger resistance. Hungarian and Polish forces even cooperated to fend off renewed assaults, symbolizing one of the few instances of semi-unified defense against Mongol incursions. By the mid-14th century, internal strife, ecological disasters, and the devastating Black Death weakened the Golden Horde's grip over Eastern Europe. Emerging powers like the Kingdom of Georgia, Lithuania, and the Grand Duchy of Moscow began reclaiming territories lost to the Mongols. Lithuania's victory at the Battle of Blue Waters expanded its holdings, while Moscow reasserted control over former Rus lands, laying the foundation for future Russian dominance. Hungary also took the offensive, capturing Mongol-controlled territories like Moldavia by 1345. Western European powers confronted the Mongols in places like Crimea, where Genoese forces successfully defended the city of Kaffa in 1347, cutting off Mongol access to important ports. However, the Mongol Empire was far from finished as a military power. Leaders like Timur Tamerlane later ravaged the already weakened Golden Horde, further destabilizing it and opening opportunities for European kingdoms to expand eastward. Europe's struggle against the Mongols is a story of adaptation, resilience, and shifting power dynamics. The Mongol invasions caused immense destruction, but also prompted critical military reforms, new diplomatic alliances, and efforts at unity that shaped the continent's future. The legacy of these encounters echoes through history as a testament to the importance of learning from defeat, fortifying defenses, and uniting against common threats.